Today, because it's Lent, because it's the first Sunday of April, and because it's Easter month, I want to talk about religion. Can I talk about religion today? What is religion? I was thinking about that. How do we define religion? All too often, we all have a religion. You know what they say in Unity? A lot of times in Unity, in New Christian Thought, you'll see on people's Facebook profiles, I'm spiritual, not religious. And I always think to myself, well, isn't that saying your religion is spirituality over dogma? You know, it's like, what does it mean to be spiritual and not religious? What I believe is it's a reaction to something that we had in the past that was not such a good experience with religion. And so what I want to talk about today is a basic definition of religion. And then I want to answer the question of what was Jesus' religion? You see, religion's not easy to define. It's not an easy, message to come up with because everyone sees God a little bit differently. No one of us can know God except through our own perception, our own past. Some of us, we're blessed enough to go to Catholic school. And no matter how much Unity Seminary, they can put in with you, there's still that little piece of the nun, who shows up every now and then. Some of us, went to Hebrew school. Some of us were raised atheists with no religion whatsoever. And so even though we learn as an adult that we have the choice on what we believe, there's still that inner child in there that shows up, every now and then to be like, surprise, I'm still here. And so defining the word religion, I believe, is difficult in and of itself. But I also believe it's important. You know why? Because every one of us unconsciously has a religion that we live by. Whether we admit it or not, if we're denying religion, then like I say, our religion is reactive to something in the past, but then we express our belief about that reaction, and we express a distance or a separation from God that's really not there because of something that happened in the past. And then many other people, they focus on this limited definition of religion. And religion to these people is one's own individual belief. I am this, but it excludes anybody who thinks differently. Now, one blessing, is that's not how we teach or believe, that we're open and receptive to everybody. But we also are a New Christian Thought church. There's an old novel by a guy named Henry Fielding. And in one of the characters, he says, by religion, I mean Christianity. And by Christianity, I mean Protestantism. And by Protestantism, I mean the Church of English that was established by law. And so what you see is in this definition of religion, and far often this is how people define religion, us and them. There's mine which is right, and everybody else is wrong. But to me, I want you to understand, religion is a way we see the world, and it's a way of life. It's really not about a creed or a dogma. It's about how we express a belief system. And sometimes that expression shows up consciously with choice, and sometimes that expression shows up sideways without us even realizing it. Imagine you're all in your house. Imagine you're all in your house, your apartment, wherever you live, okay? And imagine if you're looking outside. There's windows in the front of the house. There's a window or two in the back of the house. There may be a window or door on the side of the house. And imagine, if you will, you look out the front window. You're going to have a scene of you. Maybe I'm assuming too much, but it might be a street. You may live in a townhouse, and it might be a parking area. You may, live in a townhouse, and it might be another townhouse. And then imagine if you walk to the other side of the house, whatever that is, and then you look back. and you look outside that window or outside a back door, there may be a yard. You may see a pond. You may see some water. You may see concrete. You may see plants. But the point is, you're in the same house, yet if you describe what you see from two different views, it's a whole different world. The scenes are different, but yet you and I know it's the same world. Imagine if I go over one of your houses or you come over one of my house. It's a whole different neighborhood. Imagine, the people that looked out their windows this week and saw snow. All right? It's like it's a whole different climate, yet it's still one world. And so I'm here to share with you today that there are thousands of religions, and there have been thousands more that we don't even know about because they weren't recorded. But yet there's only one God. There's only one Christ. And even the Bible, it says that Christ was there before the beginning of time. And so my logical mind, my rational mind has to say, was there absolutely no expression of God in this world until 2,000 years ago? That absolutely doesn't make sense to me. I can't believe that, God, as I understand God, just sat around on some sort of sabbatical for millennia and millions of years and just let this planet unfold for 4.5 billion years, and then some 2,000 years ago showed up for 33 years, and then, okay, I'm gone. That's why I understand where the Bible says that Christ was there before the beginning of time. Because Christ, as we understand Christ is that perfect idea in the mind of God. Charles Fillmore says it's that perfect of Son of God. And so we can today, I believe, be intelligent enough to say from different windows, we see a different view of the world, yet realize we're looking at the same world from a different place inside our house. There's a rabbi who lived around the turn of the century, last century. He died in 1949, a rabbi named Lewis Brown. And he said, strange potency, this thing we call religion. What is it, this thing we call religion? Whence did it come, and why, and how? What was it yesterday? What is it today? And what is it becoming tomorrow? And I realize anything that religion will become tomorrow, it will become through us. My thesis, my dissertation, for school is the relevancy of Jesus in the world today. And I'm not talking about the dogmatic Jesus. I'm not talking about the Apostles' Creed Jesus. I'm talking about the real historical Jesus, what he said. And that's what I'm going to open up today. Because unity is new Christian thought. Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, his wife, were Methodists who were in search of a deeper understanding of Jesus and Christianity in their life. And Charles Fillmore says, pure Christianity is a spiritual doctrine. So now you see, spirituality, expresses our belief. Religion is a set of ideas that we hold on to. But that's the difference. Jesus, although he was very religious and he was very spiritual, understand he was a teacher first. He was a rabbi first. And what Charles Fillmore says is Christianity has no opposite whatsoever. Because in its purity, it is one with the underlying cause of everything that is. That Charles Fillmore says, this idea of Christianity in its purest sense. Now, unfortunately, we're 2,000 years away from the purest sense. And what Mr. Fillmore says is true Christianity admits no differences among those who understand it. He says the modes of teaching may vary, as do the characteristics of each teacher. But all its teachers must necessarily present the same truth. And truth, because it is true eternally is the truth that Charles Fillmore in Unity tries to focus on. And so today I'd like to look at what did Jesus really say about religion. See, because I believe, and if you really go back and think about it, you'll find that even though he was teaching 2,000 years ago, the message is still very true and relevant for today. And I believe if you think about it and really think about what is your religion, I believe religion, the Christian religion that came from Jesus, the teacher, the rabbi, is something we should immerse ourselves in and express in every area of our life. There shouldn't be a compartment in our life that it was when we're religious, but that our religion is truly our attitude and how we perceive and see the world and how God works in and through us in all situations. Now let me tell you about Jesus. And many of you know here, but if you're here visiting for the first time or you've only been coming for a few weeks, I need you to hold on to your seat, okay? And just promise you won't run out of here. At least let me finish, these 10 minutes if you're never going to come back. But hold on. You hold on? Jesus Christ was not Christian. Okay? Okay? Let me give you some historical facts. His mother was Jewish. His stepdad, Joseph, was Jewish. Okay? When he was born, they had that little bris service from a Jewish rabbi. Okay? He studied something that were called the Hebrew Scriptures. You know them. We call them the Old Testament. But it's only old because it were the Scriptures that Jesus studied. And so when we adopted them as Christians, we decided to rename Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and the other books that come after that. We renamed those Jewish books an Old Testament. But there is no Old Testament if you're Jewish. There's the Hebrew Bible. That's what it was before Jesus. That's what it was 2,000 years ago. And that's what it is down the block in the synagogue. They pull out the Torah, they unroll it, and it is Genesis, Leviticus, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. You understand that? Okay? And so Jesus didn't convert to Christianity. In his life, he was a rabbi. He taught in Jewish synagogues. He continued to study the Jewish prophets and the Jewish scriptures, and he died Jewish. He died on a cross Jewish, okay? He had a Jewish little service, the Jewish anointing, and the resurrection is because you cannot kill a God idea. Do you understand that? There is an idea in the mind of God, and we're going to talk about that because here are some of his core teachings. Okay? Practice the presence of God in everything. Okay? These are some of his core teachings. Be willing to do the work. Take up your mat and walk. Stop whining and complaining. Take up the issue and move through it. Okay? He said, we all have equal access to God. He said, lo, you can look there. You can look here. You can even look over there in the corner, for the kingdom of God is within you. And then he said, we are all students, and there's one teacher, God. One point they said, Master, Master. He said, don't call me Master. He acknowledged it is the Father within me that does the work. It is the Father within me that speaks these words. And so the most important thing I want you to learn about the true, accurate, historical, real, walking around the city of Jerusalem Jesus today is he objected to formalism in religion. Isn't that ironic? To me, I don't know, there's just a little inside joke there. I don't know, I don't know. I watch some of the TV preachers, and I don't know. I watch some of their teachings, and I read the Apostles' Creed, and understand Jesus had no input into the doctrine, dogma, and creed of Christianity, because that happened 200 to 300 years ago. It happened 200 to 300 years after he was killed and resurrected in a city called Nicaea. We believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, the Maker, blah, blah, blah. You remember that, right? And so Jesus had no impact into that. He had no input. That was all written by men who came together and said, ooh, this looks controlling. We'll keep this. Ooh, no, too independent. We don't want that in the Bible. Oh, no. The indwelling power of God, get that out of the Bible. Let's keep this in, because now what Constantine and the Romans realized is, wow, we can really control the whole empire if we adopt this Christian God. You know why? Because then we can say, God said it. When you revolt, God said it. And so something about Jesus I want you to know is before he was a religious teacher, he was a leader. He led people to a new way of thinking. He led a city to a new way of seeing God. Not as a separate, mean, judgmental, out there, we need to sacrifice to please him, God, but an indwelling spirit. Jesus said God is spirit, and them that worship him will worship in spirit and truth. And so it's just so ironic today, 2,000 years later, to see what people think about Christianity, because that's what my dissertation is on, comparing to what people outside Christianity think of Christians. And it's not really inspiring, and it's not really, encouraging. But Jesus was a leader who called out against the controlling leaders of his day. He called out against people who are telling people how to think. He called out against people who are saying, you're outside the temple. You can never be Jewish. You can never be holy. You're separate from God. And it's so ironic, because that's what I hear today from the people that grabbed on to this icon they call Jesus instead of the Son of God, or the idea of God that we understand is the Christ. You see, Jesus was a rebel and a dissident in his day. He was a dissident. He was a rebel. Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman wrote this book. I share it once in a while, Jesus and the Disinherited. And he says, Jesus' main message, his teachings, the whole point of his ministry was to show up for people who have their backs against the wall. In other words, for people who are being pushed back and not allowed to live the truth of who they are. For people that are being held down, that is where Jesus, because he was in a city, and the city was a Roman-occupied city. Understand, it was the Jewish city of Jerusalem, and it was occupied by Rome. And so Jesus shows up, and he starts teaching about free will. Jesus shows up, and he starts going to the temple talking about, you have God in you. Like, no, we don't want people learning that. We want to use what we have here in place to control people. See, when the leaders hear this, a man preaching that I have the power of God, that God lives within me, that's healing people just from the spoken word, that's touching people and transforming their lives. When this man shows up, they're like, no, we don't want to change. We want people to think we have the power. We want people to think they have to come and sacrifice. We want people to come and bring their money and their well-being and their relationships and everything about their life, and we want to control it. And so I share this because it's so important, because we have that tension in our head. We have that tension in our head every time we try and break out of the box. Every time we try and raise ourselves up to a higher idea in the mind of God. Every time we try and heal ourselves or believe in the power of our spoken word. Every time we reach out to another person and see and behold the potential in them, there's some little Pharisee or some little, priest inside of us that's like, You don't have that power. It's just little old you. And you know that tension in your head. Yet we all come here every Sunday, I believe, seeking change or seeking to enhance the change we've already embraced. And so when we go home from this service each week, I ask us to think about, what is our religion? Is it a religion of lack? Is it a religion of fear? Is it a religion of doubt? Is it a religion of oppression? Nobody can oppress us more than we can oppress ourselves. Nobody can take power from us unless we hand it to them. Nobody can hold us down, unless we bend down and let them sit on our back. When we go home, it's true. It's true. When we go home from this service, the invitation today is, how do we practice these actual, real teachings of Jesus in our life? Well, we do the work. We behold God in our life. We do it moment by moment. And so I'm here to tell you today, and I hope this is a message that comes across every Sunday, that there are possibilities, and the possibilities are infinite in this intelligent understanding of God. I'm here to tell you that no matter what you face in your life, you can overcome it. That if you ever feel locked in some sort of metaphorical jail, I want to share with you that the key is in you, it's in your heart, it's in your mind, and the lock is inside. That the house, the consciousness is never locked from the outside. See, the Jesus I'm talking about is the Jesus who taught about a God that is love. A God that is in us. And if God is in us, then the connection we have with God is always in our mind. The Jesus I'm talking about is the God of David. The God of Jesus who wrote those beautiful words we all know, that God makes me lie down in green pastures and rest behind still waters. And so if you're thinking about God, it should always be a God of peace. In Corinthians, it says God is never an author of confusion, but always the God of peace for the saints among the church. And so that means the religion of Jesus should ultimately restore our soul. It means that the invitation is for stillness and serenity, healing and abundance. What it means is we can thrive in ways we've never believed possible when we release that control our lesser self has. See, what Jesus was saying in Matthew 23 is that misguided religion of his day were teaching people to surrender, but not to God, to surrender to other people. We never have to surrender to ego. We never have to surrender to sickness or poverty or any kind of thought. Inside each of us is where our church is located. And religion is dead if it only is experienced for an hour or two on Sunday morning. Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon, that's the time of real worship for every one of us. Every one of us have cells in our physical body, and they listen to the thoughts we think about our health. We have a career ahead of us, and we can produce miracles for ourselves and others when we let go of limitation. You see, Jesus' true religion was a system of thinking. Right thinking, intelligent thinking. He said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. He said, you are a light unto the world. He said, you are the salt of the earth. These were all thoughts that say, go out and express God in every area and in every moment. He said, don't look at me, look to God in all situations. And so the invitation today as we close is to exalt these holy moments, to exalt the true Christian doctrine, the words of Jesus Christ himself, to cherish those quiet moments when we can metaphorically sit beside the still waters and hear the voice of God. When we touch the mystery that is beyond words, but we know we have touched something special. Every one of you is a child of God. Every one of you were created in the image and likeness of God, and you have access to that secret, still voice. The invitation today is when you get up from the seat to experience the delight of just knowing God is in you, to forget about the past, to let it go, to let God be God in your present, to always embrace a new idea and always move forward. You believe, see, I believe to Jesus. I believe to the real Jesus, the accurate Jesus, the eternal and living Jesus in us. I imagine that his religion is a religion that says there is always more to discover about God. And so it is, and it shall be. God bless each of you. God bless you today.